The Forest of Bliss campaign is about getting trees planted because trees are so important. The Forest of Bliss is an interfaith effort to support the earth and all its creatures. Trees are the bridge between heaven and earth, standing upright as humans do, and we humans share a special connection with them. Trees are important in every spiritual tradition. In the Old Testament, trees were cherished, and it's even said warring parties were not to cut down trees. Buddha came to enlightenment under a tree, and Jesus was in the garden with the trees. In our current moment, we hold these traditions and know how important trees are to our common home, for shade, for food, beauty, and joy. Trees are blessed as they are planted in our program, with many prayers, one of them being, "Come stand with us as we plant and nurture this tree. We have opened the earth and prepared the soil to receive this tree. As the womb receives the seed and nurtures it to maturity, may we bless and nurture this life. Bless this soil, bless this tree that is already a blessing." Bliss campaign, which is a major effort from New Mexico Interfaith Power and Light. We have planted fruit trees in front yards and backyards here at the Rio Grande Community Farm, done wetland restoration near Bosque del Apache, and planted in city parks. So as part of our continuing Forest of Bliss project, we are asking people to donate to our next project, which is to plant 30 additional fruit trees here at the Rio Grande Community Farm, coming in September 2021. So if you can, please support our ongoing efforts to get trees in the ground, supporting all of life. And at the very end of our video, it's our information about how you can donate. So there's several ways, and you'll be able to see that right there at the end.
Okay. My name's Aaron Singh, and I'm with the Albuquerque Sikh Gurudwara here in Albuquerque. And I wanted to talk about how all of these various threads have come together with the New Mexico Interfaith Power and Light and the Sikh efforts to plant trees. This project had its origins in 2019 when the Sikh community in Albuquerque started a commemorative program in which we are planting 550 trees to commemorate the 550th birth anniversary of our founder, Guru Nanak Dev. In the fall of 2019, a gathering was held in Alvarado Park where the first 5 trees were planted. There, members of faith communities attended, and the idea was born for all of us to work together on a larger tree planting project. Towards that goal, the Sikh community has partnered with the New Mexico Interfaith Power and Light, a group dedicated to foster environmental justice and combat climate change. So far, trees have been planted at the Rio Grande Community Farm where we are today, the Albuquerque Tiny Village, Alvarado and Graves Parks, San Felipe Pueblo, Van Buren and Emerson Middle Schools, East Central Ministries, and other places in the city and in the South Valley. Now, the Forest of Bliss project was the idea of our president of the Albuquerque Sikh Gurudwara, Manjeet Kaur Tangri. And she initiated this planting project, and it was her idea to name it the Forest of Bliss. A central tenet of the Sikh religion is seva, or service to the community, and sharing resources with those that are in need. In addition, the sharing of food and the companionship with others, regardless of color, religion, age, sexuality, gender identity, or nationality, is an important practice. Sukh, translated into English as happiness, joy, or bliss, is the permanent state of mind that Sikhs strive to obtain and to proliferate in a chaotic and anxious world. Sikhism seeks to foster a healthy body, mind, and spirit for all of humanity. To that end, our emphasis has been to place trees in public, community spaces that benefit the local population who live in so-called food deserts, to provide nutritious fruit and nuts to school children, veterans, and refugees, or to alleviate hot spots or areas of the city that don't have enough shade trees. Now, we're here at the beautiful Rio Grande Community Farm, and this is a part of land that was purchased in 1995 by the city of Albuquerque, and they purchased 130 acres of the Anderson Fields, and they renamed it Los Poblanos Fields Open Space. And working as a city planner for the city, our president, who I mentioned, Manjeet Kaur Tangri, was part of this initiative to preserve this area as farmland. The Rio Grande Community Farm was established in 1997 on 50 acres. And interestingly, this land is among the oldest continually farmed land in the United States. And here at the farm, we've planted 35 fruit trees and nut trees that will provide nutritional food for local students and veterans and refugees. And a new orchard of 30 trees is going to be planted in September. And in the spring of 2022, we hope to plant an additional 100 or more native New Mexico trees, such as cottonwoods, along the edges of the fields. Now, all of the work that we do is in memory of Manjeet Kaur Tangri, who passed away 2 weeks ago from complications from gallbladder cancer. And her initiatives to preserve this land, and more recently to plant trees in an effort to combat climate change, will be carried on in the partnership with New Mexico Interfaith Power and Light. And we hope to plant many, many more trees beyond the 550 that are planned so far. And with this, we can demonstrate that communities of faith working together can improve the quality of life for everyone here in our amazing state of New Mexico.
Well, the Rio Grande Community Farm is going into its 25th year next year, and that's the Los Poblanos open space age also. It was bought from Anderson Dairy 25 years ago and then put into the different programs that are run here. There's 175 farmers and gardeners on the 32 acres that we run. Well, the community garden part is 3 acres, this section right here. The Rio Grande Community Farm actually controls 32 acres directly. Some of that goes to bigger incubator kinds of programs. Tres Hermanas has 3/4 of an acre here, but the Combat Veterans Farming Incubator has 3 acres on the other side of the farm. We also have a women's coalition. We have the Women of Color Farming Incubator. We have the Master Gardeners. We have an autism farming group. We have Agribilities for people. It's a farming group of people with special needs. We have New Mexico State programs here for the soil development trainings. So we have a soil pit here and training areas for their programs. We have the pipe program out of the University of New Mexico as part of their bug count is here. That's from the Department of Entomology. So we have 10 different incubators going here on the farm that are training programs in some way. This is Tres Hermanas Farm, which is the refugee farming incubator here at Rio Grande Community Farm. They are part of Lutheran Family Services, which is the refugee resettlement organization for New Mexico. The State Department will help work with them as refugees come into the country and resettle into areas that are somewhat like the area that they came from. In this section, it's 3/4 of an acre. It's split up in between 5 different sections. A family will take over a section for a year and farm it, and then what they produce here, they take home. In other parts of the farm, Tres Hermanas will work cooperatively, and then what they raise in those areas go to market, and then the money is divided equally among the farmers. Well, it's apples really that we've been putting in over the last 2 years here in this orchard. And part of that is because Alvarado Elementary School is just right here across the acequia. Being able to connect apples and elementary school students is a pretty easy practice. And it's also part of the curriculum that APS buys for third graders, where they talk about apples as part of their science projects.
And how many trees do you have on the property?
That's donated?
Donated.
35 are in the ground and 30 are at the greenhouse ready to be moved over and planted as we can.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Tim Nuzum. I'm the Director of Food Ministry here at St. John's United Methodist Church in Albuquerque. The food ministry has been around here since 2003. We have a professional kitchen that's inspected by the city, so we do meals. We've done meals for banquets and lots of large events in the church, and this is pre-pandemic. We do funerals, fundraisers. We have a fish fry every year during Lent, and so we do these large meals in this building. However, during the pandemic, we transitioned to doing meals outside the church. We're feeding the homeless, we're feeding people who are poor or working, and also people who are sick, like the community. The organizations we help are Hope Works, Community Hope, and Casa Esperanza. Just in the past year, however, we have developed a garden ministry that is kind of a subset of the food ministry. But what we wanted to do is use the space we have here at St. John's outside to build a garden. And this would be to make food for me to use in the kitchen to feed the homeless and the people outside the church, and also to teach people how to garden and connect the two, like connect eating with how you grow the food. So it's actually the 3 steps. It's like growing the food, preparing it, and then taking it out to the people and serving them as they eat it. So what we did was just in the past year, we had a group together and we planned all this, and we utilized the area outside here. We have 2 hoop houses that we built, and we built them within like 2 days. We had a bunch of volunteers, but we got help from Del Jimenez, who's part of the New Mexico Extension. He's built thousands of them, so he designed them and he helped build them. So after they were built, we built some raised beds, and so the reason we're building the hoop houses is so we can do growing all year round, even in the cold months. And so what we did is we built raised beds inside the hoop house. We built 22 raised beds, painted them, and this was all through members of the congregation, engineers. We have lots of engineers, and so they designed the raised beds. We put them in, filled them with soil. We also had them design an irrigation system. So along the back here, we have pipes going that goes from the water source up through into an irrigation system in the hoop house. It's all on timers and automatic. Then from the hoop houses, the next thing we did is we have several raised beds that are on the ground, but hold lots of different other vegetables. So the vegetables that we're growing right now are zucchini, yellow crookneck squash, cue ball squash, black-eyed peas, green beans, bush beans, a variety of tomatoes. We have lots and lots of tomatoes growing. We have peppers, green chili, lots of Arizona 66 green chili, or 64, and then we have bell peppers, banana peppers, and then outside of the hoop house we did put in the ground, we built some rows. We dug some rows, and we have corn and bush beans and then some pumpkin. So we've utilized as much space as possible, and so we're trying to just utilizes the earth and to defray costs with the food garden. So we have lots of master gardeners here at the church, and so they've helped design things, and we're trying to partner actually with Zuni Elementary, which is right across the street, and they have a garden program that they're doing, and so we're going to help. They're going to come over, help us. We're going to go over and help them. We'll learn how to do things together. And so the name of our garden ministry is Tending the Soil and Tending the Soul. So as well as feeding our bodies, the goal is to understand the spirituality of the earth and food. And food in the Bible is extensive. Like, it represents so much in the Bible, and is mentioned so many times. From the beginning, Genesis, in the Garden of Eden, it's a garden, to the Last Supper, where Jesus eats bread with his friends. So how earth and how the food helps us in terms of communicating with each other and being spiritual, as well as understanding that the earth is it's fragile, and so we need to tend to it in a very careful way so that we have it for future generations. And we really want to get people involved and connected to the food chain rather than just being consumers.
This is our third year. We started with just 2 beds, a little closer to the church, but then last year we doubled the size, and we're hoping to add 2 more beds this fall. We grow zucchini, jalapenos, bell peppers, cherry tomatoes, all sorts of different kinds of large tomatoes, some that are really good for sauce, I'm told. And we also grow some basil, we had some cilantro, and some oregano. So this idea came up in a Just Faith group that we had several years ago, and they were talking about urban gardening and using little plots of land. And one of our members, Teresa, said, why don't we do that? So I checked with the head of our social concerns, Maria Duran, and she says, we've been wanting to do that. So the ball started rolling, and here we are. We had some really good, some of our guys built the beds, and we have a good gardener, Terry, who guided us into what to get. And the produce goes to our pantry, which is open every Thursday from 9 to 1 for people who need more food. And the good thing is they get to get fresh, organic, healthy food. And it's also teaching me a whole lot about gardening, and I'm learning. Not all of it's easy to learn, but that's the way things go. So I'm so grateful for this opportunity.
Okay, my name is Maria Duran, and I'm the volunteer chairperson of the Social Concerns Ministry here at St. John the 23rd Catholic Community. And we have a very active social concerns committee. And part of the need that we found out about 3 years ago, or discovered through our food pantry, was to be able to increase healthy food for the community rather than just canned food and boxed food. We have a large area behind the church that hasn't been utilized. And so I approached the pastor at the time and asked if we could begin a community garden for our food pantry. And once we were able to, through actually the Creation Care team coordinated it, and Kelvin Bean was really the person who spearheaded it. Once they found out the actual mechanics of the garden and the drip system, it took a while to work that all out with the support of the pastor. And so that's when we began a small community food garden for our pantry. The food pantry is opened to the whole city, and that's very unique because many of the food pantries really focus on quadrants of the city. but we have individuals coming from the mountains all the way down to the South Valley. And we also service a large community off of the international area, international district. And so we decided that the food that we had was, like I say, box canned, and so we wanted to be able to provide fresh vegetables year-round. So it began with a summer garden, obviously, where the produce would be more plentiful. And then we extended it into the fall. And so now the new pastor here, would like to extend the vegetable beds, the garden, to 6 raised gardens rather than the 4 that we have, because it's been so promising. We have a really dedicated team headed by Terry Dunbar, who has a long history of growing, is a master gardener and growing very productive gardens.